Hey everybody, it's Mr. Carr again. Today we're looking at 5.2 day one. The goal today is to focus on very specifically translations. So remember, this was a very specific um, type of a change, a transformation on a coordinate grid. So we'll go into that more in depth, but I want to make sure we talk about a couple more vocab terms. Those are pre-image and image. When we discuss a pre-image, that is the original figure that's in the transformation of a figure, whereas the image is the new image. Okay. So the idea is when we do our transformations, we are always going from the pre-image to the image. So this one becomes this one. We also notate that with our primes here. This is called prime notation. So for example, A becomes A prime. B becomes B prime, C becomes C prime. So that's how we show it on a graph, that our original image, our pre-image, is the non-prime, and then our image is going to be all primes. So today, our focus is a translation. This is a type of transformation that involves only horizontal or vertical movement. Okay. As a reminder from before, this is an example of an isometry. And that's it. That's when we preserve length and angle measure. Okay. It's a congruence transformation. When we do a translation, the image is going to stay the same. So if I start with this triangle here, after doing my horizontal and vertical movement, the before and afters have to match up in their size and shape. So this is how we write the rules for that. So we write our rules as like with this notation here. So this XY, that's my pre-image. So any XY coordinate point is setting up right there. Okay. Then we have an arrow here, and we have this part, X plus or minus something, Y plus or minus something. This is going to be my image. This is the final part. So the reason I have plus or minus is that tells us which directions to go for our translation. So for example, if I have a positive in there, that means I'm going up if I'm moving vertically, or I'm going to the right. When I have a negative sign in that place, that means I'm going left, or I'm going down, or I'm going left. Okay. So that's what we're going to see on this next example here. We want to write the rule for these translations going from ABC to A prime, B prime, C prime. Okay. So in our first case, honestly, the biggest thing is just focus on one at a time. Let me zoom in a little bit here because it's a little hard to see. This is my A prime here. When we write our rules, we're always describing moving from A to A prime or B to B prime or whatever. We're always going from non-prime to the prime. So if I focus on just one single point, like A, go 1, 2, 3 left, 1, 2 up. So what does that look like in terms of my signs? 3 to the left is a negative direction. 2 up is a positive direction. So when we write this out, we're going to do XY. We always start it the same way for our translations. It's going to look exactly like this. It's going to be XY, then an arrow. My results, like I said, we're going 3 to the left. That means that's X minus 3. We go 2 up, that's Y plus 2. Okay. That's how we show that. We're saying everything. We're saying that, and technically what we're doing is we're saying that every point goes through this same process. So I look at B. X minus 3 means it's going to go 1, 2, 3 to the left, 2 up, and there's B prime. So that worked out. If I do C here, 1, 2, 3, and then 2 up, same thing. Every single point has to go through this same exact horizontal and vertical movements. For part B here, again, I changed my letters, but this one here is my F prime. So we need to describe how do we go from point F to F prime, or C to C prime, P to P prime. Doesn't matter. We just focus on one at a time to help with this. So I go from here, it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm moving to the right 6. So I'm only moving horizontally and I'm not moving vertically. So that means my xy is transformed by adding 6 in the x direction. And since I'm not adding or subtracting for y, I'm just going to leave it as a y here. This format, excuse me. Sorry about that. This format is telling me that I'm only moving in one direction. I'm just moving horizontally to the right. Don't even care about vertical movement. All right. And for the last one of these kinds of examples here, 3 units to the right and 6 units down. So we're saying to the right 3 units, down 6. So when I think about what does that mean, again, positive is to the right or up. So if I'm going to the right, I'm adding 3. If I'm going down, I'm subtracting 6. So when I write that rule out, I just got to make sure it matches up for the x and y's. So again, this is my start. It looks exactly like this every time I write the rule out. So xy, if I'm moving right 3, is going to be x plus 3. When I go down 6, that's y minus 6. Okay, so that's for writing our rules. The next type of thing is sometimes we just given a rule and we got to make it, use it to work through our process. So in each of these cases, I want to find the image of these points. So sorry, let me say the first 2 examples, I'm looking for the image of z and I. That means it goes through this transformation. So we want to find where does it end. So that means I'm going to be adding 3 and subtracting 6 from here. Now, I think it's helpful to think about what does this look like? Well, if I'm adding 3 in the x direction, I'm moving to the right 3. If I'm subtracting 6 in the y direction, I'm going down 6. So if I want to find my image, remember image, we always call it z prime or whatever letter there is. This is that prime notation. I'm basically just going to do each of the points, the x and y's, and do the adding 3 and subtracting 6. So for z prime, that's going to be -4 plus 3. And then for y, it's going to be -3 minus 6. So for this one, I get a -1 and -9. So that's my z prime. I, -2, -2. Same thing, it's going through the same exact translation rule. So I'm going to go for I prime. That's going to be at -2 plus 3, -2 minus 6. So I prime comes out to a +1, -8. Okay. Now I'm going to separate this a little bit because this one's a little bit weird. I'm asking for the pre-image of V prime. So if I give you this, I've given you the image. What's the pre-image? Well, we need to work backwards. Okay. So if I work backwards, I'm thinking about what is the opposite of this motion. If I'm instead of going to the right 3 down 6, that was the result. I'm going to go the other direction with that. I need to go left 3 and then up 6. So really I'm doing x minus 3 and then y plus 6 here. So that means v is going to equal to -2 minus 3 and then -4 minus 6. So the original image is going to end up being -5, +2. Okay. So, last examples to go over here. Just give me a second here. Okay, so applying the rules to our coordinate grid here, we are just going to move the image going off that. And a good way to just read it is think about what directions I'm going. So if I take -2 from the x direction, we're going to go left 2. Y plus 3 means we're going to go up 3. So the easiest way to do this, I'll do it in blue here. I'm going to take each of my main points, my Q, M, Y, T. And I'm going to make them all move that same motion. So for example, for T, I go left 2 and then 1, 2, 3 up. This is going to be T prime. For Q, I'm going to go left 2 and then 1, 2, 3 up. There's Q prime. Whoops, Q prime. M goes left 2 and then 1, 2, 3 up. Here's M prime. And then finally, Y goes left 2 and then 1, 2. It's going to be off the grid a little bit. So there's my Y prime. So we connect all of our lines together. Because it was a translation, my pre-image and image are exact copies. They are congruent figures here. Okay. For the next one, do the same thing. If I'm going x plus 4, that means I'm going to the right 4. Y minus 4 means it's going to go down 4. So I just identify where it goes. So every one of my points, G, W, E, are going to go through that same exact motion. So if I start with G, let's say, we go 1, 2, 3, 4 to the right, 1, 2, 3, 4 down. Here's G prime. W goes 1, 2, 3, 4 to the right, 1, 2, 3, 4 down. So there's W prime. And finally, E goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Because it's a triangle, I do want to connect these dots together and make it into a triangle shape. Okay, so again, there's my translation. You can see kind of, I like to kind of show this real quick too. So if I do this, what's happening here, the entire image is going through the shift. It's going to the right 4 and then down 4. Okay, so you see how it ends up. Okay, it starts here, goes to the right and down. So that's it for translations. So again, sometimes you have to write the rule. Other times you have to interpret the rule and be able to make your changes accordingly. Okay, but that is it for 5.2 day 1. All right, take care, everyone.